Tonight, we saw she was given a special security escort to Court 6 last night. There were thousands of Filipinos who tried to get a glimpse of the star on Court 6. Hundreds didn't manage to get in. They were, in fact, quite rowdy at times, told to be quiet.
The Australian president himself recently extended an invitation to the Filipino tennis sensation Alex Eala to return to Australia for a special exhibition match in Melbourne. Furthermore, this isn't your typical tennis tournament. This is an assertion. An enormous declaration about popularity, respect, and the strength of the populace. Let's begin at the beginning. Something remarkable occurred when Alex Eala traveled to Australia for the Australian Open. Thousands upon thousands of Filipino fans flocked to see their tennis hero. The scenes were amazing. Her name was being chanted and flags were being waved by Filipinos everywhere, generating an atmosphere Melbourne had never seen before. Here's the issue though. Not everyone was able to enter. Due to the stadium's overcrowding, thousands of loyal Eala supporters were forced to wait outside in order to watch their beloved player play. Let's fast forward to the present. The Australian president made the decision to do something unique after learning about the events of the Australian Open and Alex Eala's extraordinary popularity. Before her next competition, he personally encouraged Eala to return to Australia for an exhibition match. The WTA did not make this decision. The organizers of the tournament did not make this decision. In order to give the people what they wanted, the opportunity to see Alex Eala perform live, the Australian president intervened directly.
Last time we saw the record broken for the first Tuesday set at about 58,000 back in 2020. That has now been broken today, set at about 61,000. So as you can see, just another ripper start to the Australian Open.
And history replayed itself once more. Eager to see their tennis idol, thousands of Eala supporters marched through Melbourne streets. It was electric energy. One could feel the enthusiasm. The stadium was once again full, forcing thousands of spectators to stay outside despite the best attempts to accommodate everyone. There is just such a huge demand to watch Alex Eala play. Eala was transported to the stadium under government protection for security reasons. With such massive numbers, the Australian authorities were not taking any chances. And she was a complete sensation when she took the court. Music, the audience erupted. It was an amazing vibe. What everyone had come to see, Alex Eala delivered. Excellent tennis and that contagious smile that has won people over worldwide. However, this is where things start to get fascinating and, to be honest, a little contentious. According to reports, Aryna Sabalenka, the WTA's top-ranked player right now, is not pleased with the circumstance. Here, the Australian president gives Alex Eala presidential honors and government security by setting up a special exhibition match for her. But Sabalenka, the world's top-ranked player, hasn't gotten the same treatment. Let's be clear on one point now. When it comes to tennis, Aryna Sabalenka is amazing. Through perseverance, commitment, and exceptional on-court achievements, she has achieved her top ranking. She is deserving of admiration and acknowledgement for her accomplishments. However, Alex Eala is experiencing a different situation. It's not just about rankings. It has to do with making connections. It's about the ardor and devotion that supporters have for a player who embodies their aspirations. Alex Eala might not yet be among the top 10. On the WTA chart, she is currently ranked 40th, which is actually 9 spaces higher than her position during the Australian Open. But rankings don't tell the whole story. Alex Eala's extraordinary relationship with her fans, especially the Filipino population, which is enormous and extremely devoted to their national tennis star, is what makes her unique.
She's got a lot of global stardom to her. She's had some incredible results against, and she's beaten players like Madison Keys and Iga Swiatek, so she's the real deal, already top 50 in the world.
And Alex Eala is managing everything with dignity and modesty. She has been incredibly appreciative of the attention she receives everywhere she travels. She is aware that this goes beyond her personal achievement. She is carrying the hopes of millions of Filipinos worldwide, who perceive something unique and deserving of celebration in her. Let's now discuss the actual cause of this presidential intervention. One of the best tennis players of all time, Novak Djokovic, publicly criticized the WTA for handling Alex Eala poorly during the Australian Open. Djokovic claims that despite Eala's immense popularity and the thousands of people who came just to see her play, the WTA erred greatly by assigning her to play on tiny courts. Alex Eala is the greatest tennis player the Philippines has ever produced, and she deserves all the respect in the world, stated Djokovic. However, Novak claims that she is not receiving that respect from the WTA. She is not being treated fairly by them. Djokovic even went so far as to imply that her first-round loss at the Australian Open may have been caused in part by her poor management.
Things like that happen. I mean, it's you could argue that it was, maybe a poor schedule, and maybe they could schedule him on a bigger court. Yes, but again, she's Alex Eala. That's been a talk, and which is understandable. There's some players coming from respective countries, like she's coming from Philippines, which is now a big deal. She's been the biggest ever, tennis player from that country, which is a big country. And
examine what Djokovic is stating here. He makes the case that a player's competition environment has a significant impact. The court's dimensions, lighting, environment, audience intensity, and surface conditions. A player's performance is influenced by all of these elements, particularly when under pressure, as in a Grand Slam competition. You're not putting a player who attracts thousands of fans on a small court when the majority of those supporters can't even enter to cheer her on. And it was evident that Djokovic's remarks struck a chord. It got people talking. People began to wonder why the WTA would treat one of its most well-liked players in this manner. Apparently, it even caught the attention of the President of Australia. The Australian president chose to take matters into his own hands after witnessing hundreds of disgruntled fans who had come from all over to watch their idol play at the Australian Open. He made sure Ella had the opportunity to perform for her supporters as she deserves, brought her back to Australia, and set up this unique exhibition match. Here's what's truly amazing though. The stadium was unable to hold all of Ella's supporters, despite a well-planned event and support from the president. There were still many out there. This demonstrates how rapidly Alex Eala's fame is growing. We're discussing a rare kind of tennis fan loyalty that goes beyond rankings and tournament outcomes. Players become worldwide celebrities when they achieve this level of fame. A person becomes more than just an athlete when they have this kind of relationship. On the international scene, Alex Eala is emerging as a symbol and a personification of Filipino greatness and pride. And WTA rankings are not the only way to gauge that. Ella has been putting in a lot of effort since the Australian Open, honing her skills and moving up the rankings. It's a big improvement to get from outside the top 50 to 41st. Additionally, it demonstrates that she is not just well-liked but is growing into a legitimately formidable WTA circuit rival. However, the discrepancy between the WTA's perspective on player management and what the fans genuinely desire is what this entire problem really brings to light. From a competitive perspective, it makes sense for the WTA to use a ranking and seeding system. However, when a player like Alex Eala attracts large crowds, fills stadiums, and generates the kind of excitement that boosts the sport as a whole, perhaps there should be some leeway in how these individuals are handled. The President of Australia is well aware of this. He saw a chance to celebrate a growing star, make thousands of people happy, and honor a player who has earned it by her relationship with fans. From her point of view, it makes sense that Aryna Sabalenka would not be pleased about it, but it also misses the mark. The goal here is not to minimize Sabalenka's accomplishments. Realizing that tennis is ultimately a sport for the audience is the key here. And it's worth listening to when the crowd are this vocal. The journey of Alex Eala is only getting started. The future appears remarkably bright, since she is currently ranked 40th in the world and is gaining the kind of fan support that most athletes can only hope for. Legends like Novak Djokovic are also fighting for her to be treated fairly. There is more to the Australian president's choice to welcome her back to Melbourne than meets the eye. It's an acknowledgement that something unique is taking place here and that Alex Eala merits celebration for more than just a ranking. It's for what she stands for and what she is growing into. Popularity, connections, and cultural relevance are just as important in this new era of tennis as rankings. And with each game she participates in, Alex Eala is authoring that chapter. And when you step back and really look at everything that happened, you begin to realize this was never just about a tennis match. It wasn't just about an exhibition. It wasn't even just about rankings. This was about power, not political power, not institutional power, but people power. Because when thousands of fans flood the streets of Melbourne just to catch a glimpse of one player, when stadiums reach capacity and still leave thousands outside, when government security is required just to escort an athlete safely to the court, that's no longer a normal sporting event. That's a phenomenon. Alex Eala has become something far bigger than her ranking. Yes, she's currently ranked inside the top 40. Yes, she's climbing steadily. Yes, she has beaten elite players and proven she belongs at the highest level. But what's happening around her cannot be explained by numbers alone. Rankings measure performance. They don't measure inspiration. They don't measure national pride. They don't measure the electricity in the air when thousands chant your name. And that electricity? We saw it again in Melbourne. The Australian president didn't just organize a match. He acknowledged a movement. He saw what happened during the Australian Open, the overcrowded courts, the disappointed fans, the chaos outside small venues, and instead of ignoring it, he responded. That decision sends a message. It says, we see you. We hear the fans. We understand that something special is unfolding. Now, let's be honest. From a competitive standpoint, Aryna Sabalenka being world number 1 deserves every ounce of respect. She worked for it. She earned it. And nothing about this moment takes away from her greatness. But sports are layered. There is the competitive layer, rankings, seedings, statistics. And then there is the emotional layer, connection, identity, representation. Alex Eala lives at the intersection of both. She is not yet number 1 in the world. But in the hearts of millions of Filipinos, she already is. That kind of emotional weight changes everything. When Novak Djokovic publicly criticized the scheduling decisions at the Australian Open, it wasn't random. It wasn't drama for attention. It was recognition from one of the greatest players in history that the environment matters. Big players belong on big stages. And when thousands show up for you, the stage must match the moment. Djokovic understood that. The fans understood that. And eventually, the Australian leadership understood that. But what makes this story even more powerful is how Alex Eala herself has handled it. No arrogance. No entitlement. No complaints. Just gratitude. Every interview, every appearance, every smile, she carries herself with humility. And that humility makes the connection even stronger. Because people don't just admire talent. They admire authenticity. They admire someone who carries their flag not with ego, but with responsibility. She knows she represents more than herself. She represents a country that has long waited for a tennis superstar on the global stage. She represents young Filipino kids picking up a racket for the first time and thinking, maybe that could be me. That kind of representation cannot be bought. It cannot be manufactured. It grows organically, through effort, through results, and through heart. And that's why even with presidential backing, even with a specially organized exhibition, even with bigger courts, thousands still couldn't get inside. Demand exceeded supply. That tells you everything. We are witnessing the early chapters of something historic. Because movements don't begin at number 1. They begin when belief meets opportunity. Alex Eala is still improving. Still refining her game. Still climbing. From outside the top 50 to inside the top 40 is not a small jump. It's progress. Real progress. And imagine what happens when experience catches up with expectation. Imagine what happens when her ranking matches her popularity. Imagine what happens when she steps onto a Grand Slam semi-final court with the full power of that Filipino support behind her. If this is the reaction now, what will it look like then? This is not about favoritism. It's about evolution. Tennis is becoming more global than ever before. New markets. New audiences. New heroes. And Alex Eala represents that new era. An era where connection matters just as much as titles. Where identity fuels fandom. Where the sport expands beyond traditional borders. Melbourne wasn't just hosting a match. It was hosting a statement. A statement that fans matter. A statement that representation matters. A statement that when thousands speak with one voice, the world listens. And as this journey continues, one thing is clear, Alex Eala is no longer just a rising player. She is a symbol of pride, a symbol of possibility, a symbol of what happens when talent meets belief. And if this is what Chapter 1 looks like, the rest of the story might just change tennis forever.